oil is just another oil to some, but a nightmare to other health-conscious people. For Rudolf Diesel, it was a miracle worker. He uses it to fuel an engine that would play an integral role in the progress of technology and some of the darkest years of world history. Being a valuable inventor, having the prestige and millions of pounds that came with it, is a double-edged sword. Had the inventor of the diesel engine known what fate he would meet on that ship to London, would he still have chosen to contribute his ideas to mankind? Hey! My name is Detective Maple. If you like true crime stories and unsolved mysteries, hit that subscribe button because I'm here to bring tons your way. So drape your blanket over your head and let's get spookin'. 7 years before Rudolf was born, bookbinder Theodor Diesel from Augsburg in Bavaria realized that this just isn't working for him. So he packed his bags, said farewell to his neighbors, and moved to the city of love, Paris, France. The challenges of moving into a new city that he did not fully speak the language of paid off well for Theodore. He would have his own leather manufacturing business, and maybe it's the familiarity, maybe it's the shared struggles of being a Bavarian immigrant in Paris. In 1855, he met and fell in love with the daughter of a Nuremberg merchant named Elise Strobel. Our main character, Rudolf Christian Karl Diesel, was then born in Paris, France in 1858, the second of 3 children. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for the family. They had to give Rudolf to the von Sens family for his first 9 months. The couple was not doing well financially, and they needed all the help they could get in the business. When he was young, Rudolf was pushing a wheelbarrow containing their leather goods. It was his luck that, unlike other children, he was able to attend a Protestant French school. It was here when he first would get a whiff of interest in technology. You could say that he's a natural. The 12-year-old academic awardee took an even higher level of education in 1870. Things didn't go as planned though, as the Franco-Prussian War broke out and forced most Germans, including the Diesels, to move to London. Rudolf would attend an English-speaking school here. His mother would later send him back to Augsburg under the care of the Chronicles to learn German and visit the Royal County Vocational College. It is very likely that this is where Rudolf got to discover his interests. When he told his parents that he wanted to be an engineer, they shook their heads because they would rather have him work as the family was not in a good place. However, against their wishes, Rudolf prospered academically from his basic education up to the Industrial School of Augsburg and received a merit scholarship from the Royal Bavarian Polytechnic of Munich. Just as he was about to graduate, he fell ill with typhoid fever. Rudolf was able to make something out of this misery though. He took this off-school time to gain experience in a Swiss engineering and manufacturing firm. When he came back to school, he came back with a bang and graduated with the highest honors possible. Soon, he went back to Paris to assist his previous professor Carl von Linde in inventing the modern refrigerator and ice plant. Hoping to take part in the management of Linde's corporate research and development department, Diesel brought along his wife, Marthe Flasche, and 2 children to Berlin. To his disappointment, he was not allowed to use the patent for personal use, so instead he worked on the use of fuel and thermal efficiency. During one of his tests, death almost got Diesel again. We won't go much into the science, but in 1892, he got the German patent DRP 67207 for the thermal efficient internal combustion engine and continued to develop and patent it again in 1893. For 4 more years, Augsburg director Heinrich von Buzz gave Diesel the opportunity to test out and improve his ideas until the first successful engine motor was tested in 1897. From then, he started collecting patents in different countries like the United States. Just a side note, patents were big and serious in this century. Rumors have it that a patent-endearing inventor, whom we disguise under the alias of Thomas Edison, has been involved with the disappearance and murder of another inventor, but that's another story for another day. To get to the Consolidated Diesel Manufacturing Company in London, now millionaire Rudolf Diesel boarded the GER steamer SS Dresden in Antwerp on the 29th of September in 1913. After dinner at 10 p.m., he was said to have been on the way to his cabin. Prior to this, he requested a wake-up call at 6:15. The crew did as they were told, or at least they were about to, but that morning, they were greeted with a surprise. Looking at his cabin, it was evident that the guy got his life together. The bed was found undisturbed and his nightclothes and watch are neatly laid out in the bed. His hat and coat were neatly placed under the afterdeck railing. And after helping himself to dinner, he was probably thinking of going straight to bed. There's just one teeny tiny problem. Diesel was nowhere to be found. There was no formal investigation for crime about the disappearance of Rudolf Diesel. The first speculation, though, was that he was an insomniac. He was having trouble falling asleep, so he did not return to his cabin as expected. If this were true, he might have wandered around the ship for a little while, looking over the railing. Then, out of nowhere, the ocean woke up from its nap and got a little shaky, but it was enough to cause Diesel to fall into the water. According to the accounts, that night was a fairly peaceful time, as well as the waters. It couldn't have caused someone to topple over a railing. Regardless, this is exactly why people are terrified of the open sea. One wrong move, one random wave, it could be the end. But this is also why ships are the perfect setting for getting rid of someone without much evidence that could be traced back to you. A passenger disappeared without a trace? It's the ocean. Anything could have happened. And that's exactly what happened to the inventor of the diesel engine. Another theory that people had is suicide. In 1978, biographers Grosser and Sedauer speculated that Rudolf Diesel yeeted himself into the water with a goal to end his own life. There were several reasons that might have urged him to do so. For one, his failing health. Maybe he was losing hope and did not want to suffer longer, nor burden his family. The second probable reason was his debt. His family might have lived comfortably because of his patents. However, reports suggest that he is unable to manage his finances and has fallen into debt. Before he boarded the ship, he gave his wife Martha a bag, instructing her not to open it until after a week. When the news came to Martha, she opened the bag that contained what would have been $120,000 in today's time. With it was their financial statements, stating that their bank accounts were mostly empty. Later, his diary would be found with a cross drawn on it. Another theory is that Rudolf Diesel died by assassination. Diesel's career and contribution to technology make him a likely target for those who wanted to take control and use his abilities for their own cause. He made an eponymous engine essential for the development of German U-boats. Again, these were the dark times, and these boats played a crucial role in the First and Second World Wars. The German military was said to have no trouble taking it further, even doing unspeakable things that support their goal. This made it easy for people to speculate that a German agent snuck into the boat and ended Diesel's life. All these to protect his invention from the Brits, as his trip to London caused the Germans to speculate that he would help power the British submarines. What happened after Diesel's death did not have a concrete set of facts. The media itself is unable to keep track of the details of the incident, nor his family's finances. Mostly vague details were reported about his death in the newspapers. As people try to recall the details of his disappearance, their stories vary. Probably because the New York Times itself released varying headlines in the same week, one which read, "German inventor was a millionaire and his home was happy," while the other said, "Diesel family in straits, missing inventor said to have left them in extreme need." After 10 days, a dead body was found floating by a Dutch pilot in Eastern Scheldt. It was so badly decomposed and unrecognizable. Due to the heavy waters, the crew was left with no choice but to toss it over back to the sea. What they had gathered, though, was the man's personal belongings, such as wallet, ID card, pill case, and eyeglass case, which would later be identified as Rudolf's by his son. The authorities' failure to officially retrieve his body steered a bunch of conspiracy theories about the case. Significant physical evidence such as fingerprints, DNA evidence, and marks that could indicate foul play all were lost in the sea. We may never know what transpired after dinner that unfortunate night. The absence of a body catered to the people's imagination that Rudolf Diesel might have been alive somewhere in Canada, but again, these were all speculations. The truth behind the death of Rudolf Diesel, whether he intended to fall into the dark oceans that night or he was trying to run away from something more sinister, we may never know. With his death, we can all just daydream of what more this bright mind could have contributed to the world. Do you think Diesel could just run away from the life he worked hard for? Or was his genius a liability to the plans of powerful figures? As a gesture of gratitude to Diesel, may the story of his disappearance be kept alive until he and his family gets the justice or closure they deserve. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. In the next story, one Sunday morning, the newspapers came a little bit late. Little did the neighborhood know, it's not the papers they should have been worried about. If they dug a little deeper into why it did not come on time, they would realize that a 12-year-old boy who delivers the papers disappeared in their relatively quiet town, never to be seen again. Until then, Puppet out!